TG with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. My channel is dedicated to making things practical, affordable, and easy. And in this video, we are talking about 4 free applications or utilities that every gamer or contract creator, streamer should have. And this is actually a support video to one of my videos on AAA gaming at 60 frames per second or higher in high or ultra high mode, starting at $300 to $350. And so, so if you'd like to watch that video, you can click on the link below, or you can go to my channel and look at other videos that I have on other Xeon systems that I either have there or are going to have. I'm testing all types of cards and chips when it comes to V2, 1 and 2, version 3, and also there's servers that if they're not there, they'll be up soon, so please subscribe, click the like button, and click that bell notification for future videos. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about 4 utilities that I believe that are a must. And one of them is MSI Afterburner. This is particularly important for gamers so that they can see certain stats on their video card and their CPU operation, as far as temperature, the megahertz they're running at, memory they're running out, the CPU temperature, CPU memory. Anyway, it just gives them an overview of how their system is performing, if their card and CPU is running too hot, and what maybe they could do to cool that down, especially if you're overclocked, you want to see how hot those things are. So Afterburner is a great tool. You can also overclock with Afterburner, and I do have some videos on overclocking in Afterburner as well. But this particular one is just how to download and install to set up the stats that you need to display while you're in your game. The other one is HWMonitor. This is a great utility to give you an overall view of your computer as far as the temperatures. Now, Afterburner is meant to run while you're in a game. HWMonitor you can run anytime, whether you're playing a game or not. And where it's good for is when you're putting a lot of stress on your computer. So you're doing video editing, exporting, coding, anything that's going to be put a load on your CPU and GPU, then you can see what the temperatures of your GPU and CPU are, or the load that's being put on them, the percentage of that's being put on it, the heat that's being generated with the memory, the hard drive, the voltage. It's a great little utility that just gives you an overall overview of the performance of your computer. The next one is a utility that you won't use that much, but it's highly recommended that you use it if you're getting a new card, because it totally deletes your old car drivers. It's best to delete those drivers, and it's called DDU, Display Driver Undelete utility. And so it'll go in and totally delete your, especially if you're going from say an NVIDIA card to an AMD card, you want to make sure that you fully delete your old driver that you're using. The next one is Snappy Driver. And what Snappy Driver does, the reason why I'm including this is in my video series, I use a lot of used PC, and particularly professional workstations from Dell, HP, and Lenovo. And whenever you buy a used system or even new systems, Windows may not find the most current drivers that are available for that PC. And so what Snappy Driver does is Snappy Driver goes ahead and puts in the most current versions of all the drivers that you need. It's a very handy tool. A lot of PC professionals use it, computer professionals. So again, let's get started. The first one that we're going to start with is MSI Afterburner.
Okay, so we're going to install MSI Afterburner.
and you're just going to you can click on the link below, but this is the website that we're going to go to, and when we get here, we're just gonna download Afterburner. Now I'm just going to unzip this in my download directory, but I would recommend saving it to a directory and installing it from there. And we're just going to go ahead and run that. And you're going to want to install both of these. I'm not going to open up the README, but you can do that if you want to. Okay, after you have MSI Afterburner installed, we're just going to go ahead and open it here. Now, one thing about MSI Afterburner, it has different skins or interfaces to the program, and sometimes that changes depending on which version you download. But I'm just going to really quick show you that. So one of the more popular ones, actually I'll just start scrolling down. So you'll notice here, this is one of the more popular ones, but it's kind of a little overwhelming. So I don't like to use that one, and this is the one right now that's on the screen. But I like this one. It's the very last option. And so I'm just going to hit OK here, but you can go through and hit whatever one you want. That's not really important at this point, because at this point what we're trying to do is we are just trying to get our stats up on the screen, so that when we're in our game we can check our CPU temperatures and usage and GPU temperatures and usage. So what you want to do is go back into this setting again, and you're going to want to go to on-screen display, or excuse me, monitoring, and then when you're in here and you click on these, what's going to happen down, I want you to notice down here it says show on screen. So basically what we're doing here is we want our GPU temperature, we want that to display on the screen, so we're just going to hit that here. Now in this one I've already set up the GPU usage. I've already clicked on that. The memory usage, the core clock count, the memory clock, and then also too, what's going to happen here is there's a lot of things that you can click on in here. But right now what we're most interested in, and you can go ahead and click on these if you want the other ones just to show on the screen. The most important ones that we're interested in is the GPU temperature, the GPU usage, the memory of the GPU usage, just so that you can observe those. But particularly the temperature of both the CPU
and the GPU and the usage. So when you click down here, you're going to notice CPU. Well, this CPU has 8 cores, and so it's going to show 8 cores here. We don't want all 8 cores to show up. We just want, so what you do is you go down here where it just says CPU temperature. Then it will just give you the temperature, an average temperature of all the cores. It's a lot on the screen if you choose all of those cores. Same thing with the usage. We don't want to see the usage of every single core in the system. Some people will do that just for testing purposes, but in this case, we just want to see what's necessary to see how the card is running. So we're gonna make sure that that's on screen, and then the CPU clock speed, the RAM that's being used in the system. You'll want your frame rate in there as well. You don't have to put that in there. So then you're just going to want to hit apply. The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the on-screen display, and here I usually just use F2 here. And what this does, this allows you to have the stats on and off as far as display. You may not want them displayed all the time while playing the game. And again, you don't have to run this every time you play a game. You just want to run it when you say you got a new system, you got a new card, you want to see the temperatures of everything, because once you reach temperatures over 80 degrees Celsius, you can that's kind of the tipping point of temperature. If you get into the 90 and 100s, your system will shut down. So you want to make sure that your system is cooling enough, and if it's not, then you may have a problem, or you may need to add some fans, or a number of things. But so maybe you're overclocking a card. You want to see the temperature results of overclocking the card. So we're just going to go ahead and apply this, and now we're just going to go ahead and open up a game. We'll just open up Lara Croft's Tomb Raider. Okay, now that Lara Croft Tomb Raider is open, we're going to go to options, because we're just going to run the Selfbench. And when you have a new system, there are other programs that can test your system, but if you want, you can run, run a game that taxes your system, your card, and your CPU. Lara Croft is one of those. In Assassin's Creed, there's lots of AAA games that will tax the system. I always just run the internal benchmark in here, and so we're just going to click on that, and you'll notice here, I forgot our stats now are on the screen here. So our GPU temperature is here, the GPU usage. Now this is the GTX 1650 Super, so it's going to show that most of the time it's going to be 70 to 100% usage. The megahertz that the GPU is running out, the memory megahertz, the memory of the card. This is the CPU temperature, the CPU usage, the megahertz or gigahertz that the CPU is running out, the RAM that's being used right now, and this is the frames per second. This will all change when we start the game, so let's go ahead and run the bench. Okay, so now that the game is running, you'll notice at the very top there, that's the frames per second counter that's built into the Selfbench of Tomb Raider. But look at the GPU temperature, we're at 60 degrees, the CPU temperature is at 73. And so that's just, those are your stats right there that you want to look at. Again, you just don't want to get much higher than 80 degrees Celsius. And in this particular game, usually this CPU that's in here it runs anywhere between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius. The card is a cool running card. The most it ever gets up to is 70 degrees. So that's really it. Let me just, the reason why we put F2 in there is so that we can take the stats off the screen. And again, I wouldn't run this every time you run a game, just so you can see what your temperatures are at. So it's a very handy tool. You just want to make sure that your system is running. Besides your system running cool, you can see other stats with MSI. But again, when you're buying a new system, new card, you want to see how that card is performing, especially temperature-wise. All right, that's a quick overview of MSI. That just is touching the surface of what Afterburner does. There you go.
Okay, the second one is HWMonitor. So let's go ahead and download and install that.
Okay, so if you click on the link below, basically it's just going to take you to this URL right here. We're going to go ahead and type that in, and again, we're downloading HWMonitor or HWMonitor. We're just going to do the English version. There is a Pro version as well. You could check that out if you want to later. We're just going to download their classic version, and then we're going to go ahead and click on the executable. It's a real small program, and we're not going to read the README file. So let's open it up and just take a quick look at what it does. So this is it right here. So this is it right here. This is our HWMonitor. We'll just go ahead and open it up. And so I'm not going to go over everything in detail, but just kind of review here. So basically what this program will do, it'll let you know what's in your system. This is the E5-1620. Let you know it'll show your hard drive, your graphics card, some of your memory, but basically it's going to show your voltage here. Right now our CPU is a 4-core but 8-core multi-thread, so it's going to show you the temperatures right here of those 4 cores. Down here it's going to show you the percentage of all 8 cores. So it's going to show you power usage. Right now the Xeon doesn't run at full megahertz until you apply a load to it. So right now it's only running at 11.97, but it can go as high as 35.9. So right now it shows the temperature of the hard drive, and I actually have 2 SSDs in here. So it just gives you some voltage of the here's the video card, our GTX 1650 Super. It'll show you the temperature of that. And so it's just a good program because it just allows you to see at a glance what your system is running at as far as voltage, as far as temperature. Most important thing to me on this one is temperatures and maybe usage. The reason why is at idle, you want to see what your computer is running. If your card is really high running at idle, or your CPU, then there may be something running in the background that shouldn't be there. But if you're a gamer, you just want to know what these values are. Now the reason why in this series we have four tools, and I've probably mentioned this, but the reason why you want MSI Afterburner is because that one you can run and display stats while your game is running, so you can check your temperatures and CPU usage there. And And so, but this is just a really good one to get an overview of how things are running. I do believe in the Pro one, it will save stats, so if you run something, it records that. But for right now, this is a really simple way to just see what your computer is doing inside as far as voltage, temperature, usage. And so even like, I didn't go over here, but here's your GPU as far as your graphics memory, your video. Anyway, I just use this as an overall view just to look at my system. So what I want to do with HWMonitor real quick, I just wanted to give you a practical usage of this. So I'm going to use Cinebench in this particular one, but for myself, what I do is I do a lot of video rendering, but then also too I have a video server, so I do a lot of video ripping and then compressing of the videos. The compressing of the videos is very CPU intensive, and so I have a monitor on my Linux system that shows the temperature of the CPU and the usage, just so that I can take a look at it when I'm compressing videos. So in this case, I could be using that same, but I could be using Handbrake on this system if I wanted to. This is my testing system for gaming, and since I don't have that on here, I'm just going to run Cinebench. And so what you're going to see here is we're going to look at the temperature of the cores of the CPU. Now this CPU has 4 cores, but it has 8 multi-cores. So down here in the processor utilization, these are it shows 8 cores. When it says 7, it starts the count at 0, so it's really 8. So right now these are pretty much idle temperatures of the computer. Also, if we go down lower, we can see the temperature of the GPU. Now this stress test is not going to stress the GPU, but it's going to stress the CPU. So let's go ahead and start this, and Cinebench has to prepare the render. And so now that it's making its starting to render this picture, you're going to notice the CPU temperatures are starting to jump up. And so the reason why this is helpful is you want to see how high your CPU temperature is running. If it gets too high, you can damage the CPU. More than likely, the CPU will shut down, which means that you have a cooling problem. Whether you're maybe you built a computer and you didn't get a strong enough fan and heat sink, or maybe the heat sink paste is wearing out, so it doesn't have the it's drying up, and so it doesn't have that connection to the heat sink. But you just want to see, anytime you get a new computer, you want to do something to stress it to see what its temperatures are at. And this Xeon CPU to run in the 70s is fine. It can run in the 80s, but once it gets over 80s very long, then it might have a problem. But definitely 90s and the 100 Celsius, it would probably shut down. But this is typically normal for this CPU. And even when I'm running games with this CPU, it's normally somewhere in the mid 60s into the low 70s. And you'll see the usage of the CPU is 100%. Your power drain will also go up. This CPU turbos at 3.69 megahertz, so it's all the way up. Again, we'll take a look at the GPU. There's no stress being taken on the GPU. The hard drive temperatures here are normal. So that's kind of That's kind of what you'd use this for. If you say you're doing video editing and you are using your GPU to render that, then you'd want to see what your GPU temperatures would be running at. So that's just kind of a quick overview of that, and I hope that is helpful.
The third one that we're doing is DDU, or display utility, or excuse me, display driver and delete utility.
Okay, if you click in the link below, it'll take you to we're downloading DDU, which is display driver uninstaller, and once you click on that link, it's automatically just going to download the program. Okay, so we're going to now again, I would put this in a tools utility. In fact, this one I'm going to, excuse me, a tools utility folder. I'm going to go ahead and put this one. I believe I've created one on this computer. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in here real quick. So and you'll notice that I already have. So I'm going to go ahead and extract this, and now we can go ahead and install it. So now once you extract that, you're just going to go right here to your display driver uninstaller. Now again, when you should be using this, you're not going to use this very often. What you're going to do is this is just showing you some options here. I'm just closing this. So what you want to do here is the only time you need to use this is, say you're going from NVIDIA to a AMD card. You may want to do a fresh install, and so what this program will do is that this program will go ahead, and we're going to select GPU here, and this one has an NVIDIA. Let's say I was going to put in an AMD. Then what you'd want to do is you'd want to do a clean and shut down. Now the reason why you want to do a clean and shut down is because you want to put your new card in before you boot. And even when you put your new card in, Windows is going to try and find the latest driver for that. But you're going to want to go to the website of that card and grab the latest driver, because Windows will not have the latest driver, the most current driver. But and usually when you're installing an AMD or NVIDIA, in their install they'll ask you, do you want to replace the current driver? But this way here you get a clean, you can have a clean so you're just going to want to have a clean slate when you first do put in a new video card. So that's really all this program is for, is just sometimes what will happen is if you don't use this and you will just start installing driver upon driver upon driver, you can have issues because the existing driver of the other card manufacturer is still there, or it's an old driver, and so it's just better to clean this. So when you do when you'd want to do a clean and restart is maybe you want to do a fresh install of your video card. So that's when you would do this here. And so obviously clean and do not start, maybe you want to do some things before you start it. But most of the time if you're switching cards, you want to do a clean and shut down, put your new card in. Clean and restart is maybe you just want to refresh your driver with a new driver. But that's really all there is. You would just click this and it would just go ahead. It takes a few minutes to remove all of the driver information, but that's really it. That's all there is to this one, but it's a great utility when you're updating a card or putting in a new card. Okay, so that's all there is to that program.
And of course, the fourth one that we're doing is Snappy Driver. So let's install that and see how it works.
Okay, Snappy Driver is a great tool, especially when you are buying a used PC or you just want to update your PC. If you buy a new PC with Windows 10, it should be updated, but when you buy a used one, it may not have the latest drivers, and so that's what Snappy Driver is great for. And of course, the reason why I show this is because if you've been watching my channel, or if you haven't, I really promote buying the HP professional workstation or the Dell or the Lenovo's workstations. They are great units for gaming. If you haven't checked any of those videos out, check those out. I have a lot of video series on those and more to come. So anyway, you're just going to want to click on that link below, and so in here, you just want to hit this download here. Now I am going to be walking you through the install, but this is also another video that you can watch. This is not going to be an in-depth. We're just going to quickly download and install this, and you just have to go to this page for a minute, and it'll just take a sec for it to start. And it's just a zip file. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and move this to a tools folder that I have on this computer, and we'll just paste it in here, and we're going to go ahead and extract this in here. And so what we want to do here is we're going to run this this one right here, the 64R209. So now what you're going to want to do here, you're going to want to do a download of the driver packs. And this actually might take a minute or two to do that. Oh, before you wait on that, okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up this the SDI 64209, and oh, you may get a network question where it needs to have permission to go past your firewall. You just say yes. So you're going to hit download all driver packs, but when you do that, click in here and just for this PC only, and then hit OK, and then it'll just download all the drivers for the PC that you're on. And this may take this might take a couple of minutes to run. Okay, so once it's done downloading all the drivers, what you want to do is you're just going to want to hit select all. You can create a restore point if you want to. I don't always do that. And then you may want to hit reboot, and then just hit install. Now this particular system, I've already ran this on this one, so there's not a lot. But when you get a used computer, you'll run this and it may have 30-50 drivers to install, and just so you know, it may have to reboot several times to finish the install. Sometimes it has to install, in order for it to install the latest driver, sometimes it needs the driver before that, and so this can take a little while to do, but it's worthwhile to get all of your system completely updated with all the most current drivers. Anyway, that's all there is. You just want to hit this install button. It'll usually restart your computer, and then I would just go back into the program and run it again to see if there's more drivers to install, until it no longer shows that until it actually says all drivers are up to date. But that's all there is to Snappy Driver. It can take a little while to update those drivers, so just be patient. But this is a great utility. All right, that's it.
Okay, so those are the 4 utilities. Thanks for coming to the channel. I hope that was helpful. I know some of these utilities you won't use all the time, or even all of them you don't. MSI, again, I would just recommend using it when you first get your PC, or you're swapping or upgrading a CPU or a GPU. But you can see the practicability of these systems. They're all free, or these apps, they're all free, and they're great apps to use. Thanks for coming to the channel. Have a good day and happy gaming.
Now that was easy